Young people killed it this election. Finally. First things first. We just saw the highest turnout in a midterm for young voters since they lowered the voting age to 18 in 1971. The smartest youth vote researchers say that 31% of young people ages 18 to 29, like me, turned out to vote this year. And in states where there were competitive governor's races, places like Florida and Wisconsin and Georgia, youth turnout was even higher, more like 35%. And why does this matter? Well, we've always known that there are more young people out there than any other age cohort, but that young folks like me vote at half the rate of older folks. And we're still not voting in the same numbers as the olds, but we're closing that gap. And that's got big implications for our future and for the future of elections.
Good or bad?
In places across the country, young people turned out in higher numbers than ever before, and it made the difference in a ton of close races. Here's one example. In one precinct in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, near Marquette University, turnout was higher than it was in the 2016 presidential election, and we finally got rid of Scott Walker. And that was true in neighborhoods with lots of young people all over the country, in places like Philly and Tampa. And what's one thing that all those places have in common? They're in states that Donald Trump narrowly won in 2016, meaning that this big new youth wave could make the difference again in 2020. And another thing. Young people didn't just turn out to vote in record numbers. They voted overwhelmingly for Democrats. The latest estimates show that young people supported Democrats over Republicans by a 44-point margin. That's better than Obama ever did. And we know that young people of color have always been progressive, but this year it looks like young white folks swung hard towards Democrats. They were super turned off by Donald Trump's hateful rhetoric. And this outpouring of support from young people doesn't just stop at the ballot box. This enthusiasm helped elect a ton of new young people, and they're all coming to Washington to shake things up. We elected at least a dozen new millennials to Congress, from places like Chicago and LA and the Bronx, but also from places like rural Maine and Dallas, Texas and East Iowa. We've got young people from sea to shining sea all coming here to DC, and they will be sure to represent young people's interests on the issues that matter most to us, like climate change and the cost of higher education and racial equality and justice. Now, when young people turn out, we see we can change the total world. But we know that it's not enough to stop fighting now. We've got a ton of work to do to make sure that we've got these newly elected folks back, that we're pressuring them on the progressive issues that matter most to us, and most importantly, that we guarantee that Donald Trump doesn't have another term in the White House. Young people are fighting, and we will never stop until we win.